Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for joining me. Thank you all for following the content. Thank you for following new information I've uploaded to the queue pertaining to Big Steppers of Knoxville. CEO Regina Murphy, thank you all so much for following the content. Great show. Thank you for the warm birthday wishes. If you need to verify any of the said information, it's in the queue, the video pertaining to the auditions of that said reality TV show. Hopefully it will go to print sometime this year. Filming will start in April. I believe the first location will be Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you, Gigi, for inviting the Queen along for this ride. I hope to possibly be in a few episodes myself. I didn't take any pictures during, as far as being with the cast, because I hadn't really decided if I wanted to be in the in the fold of everything, but we will see as time progresses. The subject tonight is pertaining to Bryan Kohberger and his attorney, the former attorney, Ms. Taylor. I want to dissect everything that has come out pertaining to her recusing herself, her representing Xana'S mom in a few drug cases. It's also come to light that she's represented two other parents pertaining to one of the victims. This case has gotten absolutely ridiculous. This is why I've said in the beginning of this case, I did not accuse anyone in this case because I didn't know the children. I didn't know who they fraternized with. So I never could say, what happened to the children, whom did it, why, the motive. And when, as I said, nasty rumors started surfacing about the mother, her past, and some of you implicating her parents, I thought that was a low blow because it's just it's out of pocket. It's disgusting to implicate a person's parent or relative in a crime. You don't have any evidence to anything because, one, you don't know the kids. You don't know anything about these kids. So what makes it worse now, we're hearing of Xana'S mom having drug issues, representation by Miss Taylor. Now here comes two more parents brought into the fold of a victim, also represented by this lady. And then I'm going to bring you content that shows she was running the office because that's how they're printing it in the article. So when it says take over, that leads me to believe that she was in some type of supervisory position. And I had to think about that earlier today. How would a person not have knowledge of a client? The only way you wouldn't have knowledge of the client is if you were assigned the client, but you never met the client personally. The client never showed up to court, but you knew their government name. You've tried to reach out to the client. You've talked to the client via phone, but you never saw the client. I tried to weigh every possible situation to where somebody in this office could say, we didn't know anything about her. We never met her. But you will hear a commentary that states she's talked to this lady, Miss Taylor, on other past drug charges. So I would think at some point she's met her. They've met one another, rather. And the fact that the article states, one of the articles I'm going to bring you with a source, that she took over, that leads me to believe, as they said, she was a chief public defender. So somebody has to take responsibility in knowing their clients. You can't be handed the client and at some point don't even, have a picture, a photograph of the said person, even if they never show up, never meet with you, never come to court. You still should have a visual of their face. And 3 or 4 times getting in trouble with someone, I just refuse to believe Kara never met with Miss Taylor. So at some point, you have a visual of her face. You've met with her. You've heard that she's the mother of one of the victims because she got charged about 6 days or so after the murders, which was the 19th. So at some point from the 19th till the 30th of December and January 5th, Miss Taylor, you've had to have had knowledge of this woman. And now the other two parents being the parents of the victims, 2 victims. I also want to discuss the other daughter. Kara has told News Nation, Miss Banfield, that her other daughter, very beautiful girl, attends Washington State University. This is also where Kohberger attended school, the graduate program. What I want to know is, did he know that Xana'S sister attended this school? This case is wicked to me because now you have all of this extra stuff to go over, dissect, Naturally, people will run with this information and make it more than what it actually is. But it's baffling because, as I said, when people were putting nasty rumors out about the mother having a connection to the case, connected to the murders, and then when you found out Kohberger was the suspect, then you found out he had a heroin problem, then you wanted to try to tie that into the house being a drug house, and all of that was already nasty rumors. Shit I don't indulge in because I don't get down like that. I'm not making up stuff like that. I don't have that kind of time. And I won't promote it. Because usually it's far-fetched and it's nowhere near the truth. The point is, now the drug issue has come to full circle. And now you're hearing about other parents being represented by Ms. Taylor. She had to have had knowledge at some point because she dropped the lady. So therefore, that shows you had knowledge. So who's going to take the responsibility of knowing? And why did you do it? Because you can't say you didn't know because you dropped her. So that means you had knowledge. Now we found out about a daughter attending Washington State. This is baffling to me. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my information. Thank you for joining me. We're going to see what Ms. Banfield has to say. 3 parents of 2 Idaho stabbing victims had same attorney as Kohberger. This was uploaded 1 day ago. News Nation is the source.
There is a lot to unpack here, obviously. Unfortunately, we've got 2 of the best people to help me do that. Stacey Honowitz is a 34-year veteran of the Florida State Attorney's Office and the supervisor of the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit. Ken Belkin is New York's criminal defense attorney. He currently gets cases assigned to him by a judge, and he defends them. He is on the assigned counsel panel. Stacey, as the prosecutor, I'd like you to go first here. Do you expect that the prosecutor in this particular case is going to put forth a motion pretty quickly to try to sort all of this out?
Well, I mean, you've covered it all in the very beginning. You've covered every issue that has to go on in this case, and it's about this conflict. So it's very rare that you see the prosecutor come forward and say there's a conflict, because we generally don't ever know about it. It's different in this case because everybody knows about it. You normally see the defense attorney come into court and tells the court, you need to assign a special public defender because we have a conflict. They are always the one that brings it up because, again, the prosecutor doesn't know anything, doesn't know the relationship between the clients, doesn't know how long they met with the client, if they even met with the client. You know, you have to remember, in the public defender's office, just like in the state attorney's office, the cases are assigned. So we don't know, once that case was assigned, did that person actually go and see the client?
That's what I said.
Is the name on the list now that it's going to be a potential?
Exactly what I said. That's the reason why you have to weigh out everything thoroughly, because some of us did jump the gun at first. So did Kara go into the public defender's office and meet with this woman, Taylor, on her drug offenses? Same with the other parents. Did they also go in and meet with her? Because now we're talking about 3 sets of individuals with dead children tied to this suspect that they dropped Kara for. As you hear this lady speaking, the prosecutor would have no knowledge of who's been in trouble, and they're the mother, father of the victim. They would not know that. But the public defender is the one that's going to be dealing with these clients. So did these people meet with her? We know at some point she got knowledge. Let's put it like that.
Actually go and see the client? Is it just a name on the list now that it's going to be a potential client? But in this case, evidently she did spend time with this mother because she turned over some kind of power of attorney. She asked her to help her get into rehab. And so a prosecutor is going to say there is a conflict because that's a witness for me. And there's special confidences that you might know. And now you're representing the person that killed her daughter. So yes,
it's also, Stacey, it's also just like the smell test too, right? Like everything that you just said, yes, but also just the smell test of Christian justice. And maybe, Ken, you can jump in here as well. Yesterday, I said it was one parent that had been represented by Ann Taylor. Now it's 3 parents of the deceased, of the murder victims, being represented by Ann Taylor, who's representing the murder defendant. And so it gets worse. But I do have to ask you about the public defender system, because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. I thought maybe it was just a mix-up with the name Karen Norkington, not Kernodle, and it turns out the warrant says Kara Kernodle. Very unique name,
Wow.
Not easy to forget. But there are only 13 of these death-qualified public defenders in the state of Idaho. So take me from there and tell me where all of this could be an innocent mistake.
Well, sure. And this is what we call the appearance of impropriety. It's not clear a conflict exists, but it appears like there is something improper going on here. She represents the mother of a victim that was murdered by a man she now represents. Not only that, she represented that mother, 2 mothers in fact, but one of those mothers she represented on 4 cases, one of which is currently pending now. A potential conflict has arisen. The person who potentially murdered her daughter is being hauled before the court, and she's been potentially being assigned to that case. What she should have done was to decline that representation. She did something the opposite. She's put in a notice of withdrawal of the victim's mother's case, which is totally improper. Because if a potential conflict arises, it doesn't mean the lawyer is served with a menu of options they can choose which client to represent. Conflict of interest laws are in place because there is a relationship already. There is an attorney-client relationship. Confidences have been conveyed. There is confidential material that's been shared, and you don't want to betray those confidences. You don't get to pick and choose which case you take on a conflict of interest. You stay with the existing relationship, and you would decline the new one. That is the proper.
Well, and I'm glad he said that, because many people who don't know law, won't know how the state's attorney and the defense office works. You stay on the case that's been assigned to you. You don't pick and choose. So therefore, you had knowledge of Miss Kara being the mother of the victim. As Banfield says, her name on the documents does not say Northington. It says Kernodle. This is the hottest story in America right now. So you being a defense attorney, you people talk all day, every day. You're hearing all type of, circulating around about criminals. No way you did not know. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. No way you hadn't heard anything about these family members, parents, because even if it's in a small state, you're 2 hours or so away from Moscow, Idaho, people still talk. And we know when it comes to certain social settings, such as police department, defense office, state attorney's office, you all get information passed along through the wire. You deal with criminals. You're not the flower shop on the corner, okay? You're not the flower shop on the corner. You're a public defender's office. And if I'm to believe that you're an authority at this public defender's office, there's just no way you didn't know that Kara was this girl's mom. And her charges came forward 6 days after her murder, after her daughter's murder. Same last name, same name on the documents. The case was already out. All the kids' government names were mentioned on the news, social media. No way you weren't watching the case and paying attention to the case. So this is what people need to understand. You're in that business. As I said, you're not the lady, the little old lady with the flower shop on the corner in a town of 10,000. You are in the public defending business. And you knew there was a chance that whoever did this would possibly face the death penalty. You knew that you stood in the running for being a possible candidate because you know the law and you know the jurisdictions, the things that we as outsiders would not know. This is so sad to me. And what pisses me off the most about this is the obvious. This is just extra gossip to bring into the case because all these cases are the same, whether it's about a child, an adult, missing child, missing adult, missing whomever. It's always extra gossip. And it's always about their parents, their friends, somebody else. You never get any information about the people, rarely. You really just been getting bits and pieces about the kids. Everything's now about their parents. One overzealous father doing the most talking, Mr. Gonsalves. Now we've got Kara in the loop, and now they're bringing in 2 more parents as defendants of this public defender's office. This looks bad. It is bad. Ain't no looking. It is. And naturally, the children have no jurisdiction over the things their parents do and the troubles that they got into. But it just happens that these kids are dead. And there was enough hoopla about their deaths and who could have done it and why. And now this, to me, just makes it worse. Because this just fuels more gossip. That's the sick part of this story. Help fuel more gossip. And the story is about the kids, not their parents. But as you see, it's national news now about their parents.
Proper thing to do here, which it appears she did the exact opposite.
And Stacey, just weigh in again on how serious this is, right? Like, as I understand it, every jurisdiction is a little different. The judge could pull them in to chambers and say, tell me everything before this gets out in public. And I want to know every single meeting that you had with these 3 parents. But you tell me how it works.
Well, listen, every jurisdiction is different, and they won't handle it the best way that they possibly can. But this is now on the news every single, it's been headlines all day today. So something has to take place. You're talking about a capital murder case, and everything you said is correct. You want to go in with clean hands. You don't want to try this case all over again. The worst thing you can do is to have the lawyer go in, try this case. And we knew that these conflicts existed. So a myriad of things can happen. The prosecutor can take it upon himself to say, listen, judge, what's going on here? We need to have a hearing. You will have an in-camera hearing because nobody will ever be able to know what those confidences were unless the judge orders her to disclose who she spoke to and when and for how long. But the defense attorney is 100% right. It is the appearance.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
All right, everybody. Commentary. Somebody had to have knowledge. Somebody. Ashley Banfield, mom of Idaho victim, deserves a voice. News Nation is the source. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, Miss Carol's in a bad way right now. And from the looks of it, these kids had some jacked up parents. I don't know the charges of the other 2 parents, but I'll read that said information later. Thank you for joining me.
And I'm going to get very personal here, so just bear with me, if you will. There were a lot of people who were very upset that we ran this interview. And some of the comments that I read upset me because I look at Karen Northington as a woman who has admitted that she has struggled with addiction mightily. She admitted on television that she was in rehab and needed help from her attorney to get there. Her struggles are real. And the fact that she lost her daughter to a ghastly crime is real. And she is a victim in all of this. And she deserves a say. She deserves a say from the very get-go because she's been victimized as a family member of a murder victim. And I do not care where she spends her evenings or whether she's been in jail or whether she needed a public defender. She has a voice. She deserves to speak. And when this happened with her attorney, she 100% gets to speak. She has a dog in this fight because her attorney is now representing her daughter's accused killer. Let it sink in. She has a right to speak. She has a case. And I think Ann Taylor has explaining to do. And to that end, we called Ann Taylor's office. Understandably, she can't get back to me. There's a gag order in this case, so she can't respond. But at some point, she's going to have to respond. And for anyone out there who thinks this is somehow sinking the case against Bryan Kohberger, let me be honest with you. A conflict of interest for a death penalty case can overturn a case. So if you're worried about this, you should be. You should be worried that an attorney who is not fit to serve as an attorney because of a conflict should not be in a death penalty case. Lest the state of Idaho wants to spend a whole bunch more money and a whole bunch more emotion to have to retry this case again. And I am pretty sure nobody wants that. Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
Ashley Banfield, thank you for joining me. News Nation is the source. If you need verification, it's in the YouTube queue and also my community board. One moment before I bring you the said information. Thank you for joining me. You're now listening to The Vault XL. Yes, Kara has a voice. She is the parent of a victim, as so the other parents. As I just stated before, that what these parents have done in their lives should have no bearing on their children unless it can be tied into the deaths of the children. But if not, best not to speak on things you do not know of just because you're assuming something. Everyone's had a past. She does have a right to speak. Gag order in the case, so nobody can speak now. Ms. Taylor can't speak because she was on the case for a few weeks on behalf of Kohberger. But the problem is the obvious. You had these people, represented them at some point. So at some point, the names should match up. The children's names have been in the news. It's not a secret. And as I said, I'm sure Idaho is that small that you did not hear these kids' government names. And we know that in certain circles, people talk. Police officers talk to other officers in other jurisdictions in the state, neighboring states. So I'm not going to sit here and just give these people a pass because I believe she was an authority to know who's who and what was what. And when you count the timeline from November 13th up until January 5th, that is almost 2 months. So there's no way you could not have known these kids' parents have been in your office. And as they have said, when it's time for public statement pertaining to the children, it is normal, victim impact statement. When it's time for the punishment, that the state will call their parents or whoever can come and speak on behalf of the person. So you have 4 victims. You knew they would call these kids' parents. Now, maybe she wouldn't want to speak, but we can't say because that day has not arrived. You knew all of that. You knew all of that. That's your job to know. You're a lawyer. And there are ramifications for if she had stayed on, overturning the case. If he got the death penalty, it could have been thrown out. But of course, all that's farther down the road. He hasn't even gone to court to even give a plea yet, but just giving you the hypothesis of the situation. My understanding is Mr. Schwartz is now stand-in. I searched high and low trying to find information. Hello, sweetie pie, sweetheart. Thank you so much for joining me. I searched high and low in the search engine to try to bring you the latest information pertaining to new representation. That's what I was trying to find, the latest. I couldn't find really much of everything's just from days ago about the basic information. But this is why I hate these types of cases. Because when you have tainted people who have been in trouble, they become the subject matter instead of the subject of the victims. And this has happened in every case I've talked about pertaining to children. The case is never about them because they didn't live a long life for you to tell a lot about them. You know, how much can you say about a 5-year-old? You know, a 5-year-old goes missing, a 3-year-old goes missing, a 2-year-old goes missing, found in a landfill. How much can you say about them? The story ends up becoming about their tainted parents. And this to me is even more tragic. These kids were grown. And we're now hearing all this craziness about what their parents were doing. Nothing about them. This one was nice. This one was a go-getter. This one worked at a farm. But in the end, everything now is coming out negative about their parents. And this is what I dreaded. Because I saw how vicious people were with the gossip about Kara being an addict and trying to make it seem like she had something to do with this. To me, that was just disgusting. And if your mind ventures like that, there's something wrong with you. Because it's not to say that people don't get hurt by their family members, set up by their family members, robbed by their family members. Of course they do. Children are envious of their other family members, brothers and sisters. But there's been no indication that any of their relatives were involved in this heinous crime. Because if that was the case, we would have had a suspect probably early on. Early on. Now this has become the victim's family show. This is just troublesome to me. To be dead, your parents can't grieve you because now their names are becoming part of the shit show. But it is what it is. When you've committed a crime, it is public record. And people dig into anything about people. And that's just the way it is. Once your name has been brought forward as a mother, father, grandparent, people start digging to see where you live, how old you are, what size underwear you wear. Oh, he's been to jail for DUI, blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, the commentary is about the parents. It's not about the kids. Although these were adults, but they're still young people, they're children to me because I'm old enough to be all the children's mothers. Going to bring you said information pertaining to Miss Kara and the other parents. Thank you for joining me. Also, I want to talk about Miss Jasmine, very beautiful girl. I will try not to mention her name much during the live stream because I want to bring more, flack to her. We also got information days ago that she attends Washington State University. Kara decided to tell this information, which was bad too, telling that. And that the daughter wanted to continue going to school. And this is at the time when we didn't even have a suspect. So imagine now knowing, and I said this then when I was going live months ago, you don't even know who the killer is. And now that you find out who the killer is, what are the odds he attends to school with one of the victim's sister? Man, it's just, I'm telling you, there's days I could check out from all of this because this is what I don't like about talking about true crime is this right here, this extra stuff, the 6 degrees of separation. This is bad, bad, so very bad. Because I told you that when you find out that there are pings of him being at the house, you don't know what he has been doing in his spare time. You have no idea what he was doing in his spare time. So I told you all this. Once the pings came out, you don't know what he's been Googling, what he's been watching. You don't know if he went in their mailbox getting their personal mail. You don't know if he knew where their parents live. You don't know if he ever drove by their parents' house when he didn't see their cars. You don't know anything. Now you find out that a sister attended the same school. You don't know if he found out about her. They all took pictures and posted of each other. How hard would it be to find out? Oh, she's right down the street from me. It would be nothing because once I have your government name, the rest is easy. Once I find out where you live, where you work, where you go to school, the rest is easy because we live in a world where people talk. Because everybody just has to keep posting to social media. Yeah, my brother goes to NYU and he's a 3rd year, blah, blah, blah. And he lives on 15th Street. He's got a view of the park. Damn. You're just giving the information away and nobody realizes this. And I'm guilty of it too, because that's the thing. Live streaming from places, people can put 2 and 2 together where you're from, because this is what people do. They watch, they look at the background. I didn't have to mention the name of where I was yesterday, but somebody who watched the live, familiar with Knoxville, they knew exactly where I was. And if they saw anybody in that live stream they didn't like, had a problem with, they could just pop up. They could have walked right in the door. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Even in promoting a business, you can get yourself killed because we take for granted the little things. The little things. Went out last night, go live. Most people knew where I was. All you got to do, look at the background. You've been in there. Oh, I know where she is. This is what I'm talking about. Because you're not assuming that somebody's out there not liking you, want to find you, want to hunt you down. Because many people just don't think like that. But you need to start thinking like that. Every time you post something, you're a friend of a friend with somebody. You comment on a public page, Facebook group, news bulletin, FBI, TBI page. You don't know who's watching and who's looking, who's listening. The Independent is the source. I'm going to skim over some of the things that we've already known about the case as I can cut my time in reading all the information. The attorney representing Bryan Kohberger, because this was uploaded, let's see, what's this, 6 hours ago, has ties to the family of a second victim of the University of Idaho murders. It has been revealed. Public defender Ann Taylor previously represented the father and stepmother of Madison Mogan in now closed criminal cases. Let me repeat. Ann Taylor previously represented father and stepmother of Maddie Mogan. Those cases are now closed, according to court records seen by Inside Edition Digital. The connection comes after it emerged that Ms. Taylor was representing Xana'S' mother, Karen Northington, on drug charges at the time of Mr. Kohberger's arrest. Court documents filed on the 5th of January showed that the attorney then dropped her as a client the same day that she took on Mr. Kohberger's case and representing him in court in Moscow for the first time on charges of murdering Colonel Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Gonsalves. Ms. Northington said she felt betrayed by the attorney. The ties to the victims' families has raised some concerns about a possible conflict of interest in the case. Now, as most of you know, and Mr. Schwartz has taken Ms. Taylor's position for Kohberger. Meanwhile, it has emerged that months before the killings, Kohberger met Pullman Police Chief Gary Jenkins for an interview for a research assistant position in public safety. It remains unclear if Mr. Kohberger was accepted for the role, which started in August. I have brought you content stating that thus far he did not receive that position. I think that would have been mentioned by now. So just recapping everything, because they repeat everything in these articles. Legal expert debunks speculation about co-defendant. Last week, Bryan Kohberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, filed a discovery request in the case asking the judge to order the prosecution to hand over all discovery in the case within 14 days. Among the discovery requests were witness statements, digital media, and police reports about the case. It also included a request for information about a co-defendant, quote unquote, in the case. Statements of co-defendant, any written or recorded statements by a co-defendant, and the substance of any relevant oral statement made by a co-defendant, whether before or after arrest in response to interrogation by any person known by the co-defendant to be a peace officer or agent of the prosecuting attorney, or which are otherwise relevant to the offense charged in the filing reads. Now, one could say this is normal jargon for paperwork, that it would be put in anyone's paperwork, whether there was a co-defendant or not. I do not know. We will see. The request has prompted speculation of evidence suggesting that Mr. Kohberger may have had an accomplice or that the defense could seek to argue that as part of their case, which I do believe that is what they are going to do. Whomever continues the case for Kohberger, I do believe they will shift the blame to somebody else as the orchestrator, or he had a silent role, or even a partial role in the killings of these children. But I do believe that will be the defense for Kohberger, that he did have a partner. That's my own personal opinion. However, Mr. Levin explained that this is just part of the standard request for discovery in a case. These are just very standard requests as part of the defense's discovery request, he said. While ruling out other individuals as possible suspects will likely form part of the state's case against Kohberger, he said that this does not indicate that there are other suspects. The probable cause affidavit makes no mention of a co-defendant, and law enforcement officials have previously insisted that they believe the suspect acted alone. The request making mention of a co-defendant is also just one of 18 discovery requests made in the court filing. I don't think I would make such hay of that, Mr. Levin said of the discovery request. Authorities have lifted the lid on the alleged evidence found in the home of Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger, marking the latest development in a horror case that has gripped the nation for 2 months. Search warrant was executed at Mr. Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington, on the 30th of December, the same day he was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania on charges for the 13th of November, stabbings of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Moscow, Idaho. A record of evidence recovered during the apartment search was unsealed on Wednesday, revealing the seizure of 15 items, including hairs, receipts, computer tower, disposable glove, and items with peculiar stains. The recorded reignited a frenzy of speculation online despite its simplicity and lack of conjecture. But what significance, if any, can actually be gleaned from the list? The Independent's Andrea Blanco spoke to 2 experts, Dr. Monty Miller, a former crime scene investigator and forensic expert for the Texas Department of Public Safety, and former FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, for their takes on each item. Dr. Monty Miller, a former crime scene investigator and forensic expert, former FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer, explained the potential significance of items seized from Kohberger's home. Let's see. Trying to see if they'll bring it up. They kind of skip over these information. I don't know why they don't go into the information. Okay. Well, this is weird. They bring it up, but they don't show what they think. Interesting. It's not about the town, dear. It's about the jurisdiction. When you have bigger cities, bigger towns, you have more reason to pool in, defense attorneys, lawyers, police officers, firemen. It's all the same. So you're in a small town. It's, I guess you pull in depending on, the size of the town and how many cases you get of defendants. I'm trying to bring you, they're not stating why they think about the evidence. These articles, they're not writing these articles properly. Because I was trying to read about Coffin-Daffer's opinions, but they're not showing anything. Anyway, the Independent is the source. Thank you, Fairy Dust. And thank you, Sweetie Pie, for joining in. I just get lost of words. As I told you before, Schwartz is now taking the place of Taylor. This information I'm reading is really like past tense. They're speaking in present tense, but it's past tense. The worst case scenario would be yes, case being overturned, death penalty thrown out, But we are far from that because we haven't even gotten to the day he attends court to give a plea. So we're far away from that. And with all this new shenanigans going on, I'd say it'd be even farther because God forbid anything else jumps out of a hat. And as you heard in this information, the paperwork that was, that's been drawn up asking questions does not necessarily mean that he had a co-conspirator. I'm assuming it's just random questions that the defense asked for as far as getting evidence and evidentiary material for their client, on behalf of their client. But these new issues with the parents being represented by Ms. Taylor, it's not good. And it just adds more drama to a situation that's already out of control. I'm going to bring you somebody's hypothesis, which is, as I said, the worst case scenario. A legal expert warned that the quadruple murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger, could have his conviction overturned if his current attorney does not recuse herself, which most of you know she has, after a glaring conflict of interest came to light. And naturally, you already know that she has represented Karen Northington, the mother of Xana'S. It says her mother has slammed Taylor after she was dropped by the attorney on January 5th, the day after the day that Kohberger appeared before an Idaho judge. And in this article, you see a really nice picture of Xana, her sister Jay, and Kara. But this is many years ago, 2018. A lot has possibly changed since then. Northington was at the time being represented for various drug charges by Taylor, who had worked with her on several occasions, saying she was heartbroken to be silently dropped. A legal expert is now calling for Taylor to recuse herself from the Kohberger case as he believes it could result in the suspected killer appealing any result in which he is found guilty. California appellate and litigation lawyer Matthew Berhoma told DailyMail.com that Taylor seems to want to work on the case with Kohberger, describing it as an odd and unique situation. Let me repeat that again. Mr. Matthews says, it seems that Taylor wants to work on the case with Kohberger, describing it as an odd and unique situation. Well, it would be considered odd because you already had a parent as your client on a few charges. Not one, not two, but what, about four? Then we find out two other parents of the victim, one of the other victims, Maddie. So you had to have known this because her of charges didn't go into the database 6 days later after the kids were murdered. And Banfield says Cornolo's last name was on the documents, not Northington. So you are a public defender in the state of Idaho. No way you didn't know Cornolo's name would ring a bell. And then, like they said, we don't know what this lady's ever told her and all the times she was being represented by this lady. You know, a lot of lawyers remember things about their attorneys. That's why when you watch true crime, they bring people on years later and they start talking about their clients. They'll tell you, oh, yeah, he had a nice smile, or she had pretty hair, or he appeared deceptive. And because they don't forget them, because they work with them. How would they not remember things about their clients? And if this is a small jurisdiction, I don't see them forgetting about the people they've represented. I don't care how minor the charges were. This is not like New York City. Thousands of people are going through the judicial process needing a public defender. Hell yeah, you might forget some people along the way, but not in Idaho. I view all those places the same. Idaho, Nebraska, Utah, those places are off the beaten path. No way you forgot about somebody 1 year ago, 2 years ago. I doubt it. This is nonsense. He said Taylor had many prior dealings with the mother on multiple occasions, and that heightens the conflict. You have to assume she received no confidential information from the mother that could bleed into this case. And then you have to question if you can do the job impartially, and it could affect Bryan, who may not have a replaced attorney. It is an inherently difficult issue with No clear-cut answer, and it's a gray area. However, if it were me, I would recuse myself from the case. And as I said, she has been removed from the case. So what I like to know is, did somebody over her remove her, or she removed herself? Because I do believe she had an official capacity in this public defender's office. Another issue is that Idaho is quite small. Now you get to hear it, that it is small. It says, so there may not be an alternate public defender with a large and separate office like they would have in LA. I would be surprised, however, if there is no one at all that could replace her. This kind of conflict happens all the time, especially in the public defender's office with who represents many individuals. But the issue here is the fact that she has represented the victim's mom several times previously, so she is conflicted on the Bryan case. There's a very high likelihood that the parents are going to testify in the trial, especially if it becomes a death penalty trial. Exactly. The state will call the parents to speak on behalf of their children. Give a victim impact statement. I think many of you know this. The parents and the families are going to stand up in court and testify. And in that instance, Taylor would be cross-examining her own former client. Xana'S mother has since claimed that she gave Taylor power of attorney because of her drug addictions and is unsure what happens next in her case. Northington says that she trusted the lawyer to help her and is unsure if she even has new representation. She added that she feels betrayed by Taylor and felt that she had been abandoned by prosecutors who knew Kohberger studies at WSU, where Xana'S sister, Jasmine, attends. Let me repeat that, because that is also in the title of this live stream. She added that she feels betrayed by Taylor and felt that she had been abandoned by prosecutors who knew Kohberger studies at WSU, where Xana'S sister, Jasmine, attends. Barhoma went on, if Taylor does have power of attorney in the mother's case, I don't think she will for very long. Just looking at the mother's reaction, that tells you everything you need to know about the conflict. There is no way you can tell me that there isn't another attorney that could come in and replace her, and I will recuse myself from the case. On the other hand, Bryan has the right to a speedy trial, and that can't be impacted in a case like this. If Taylor continues to be his attorney and it does turn into a death penalty case, then in that predicament, then it gives a really good appellate argument to overturn his conviction or overturn the death penalty. It is really difficult area to navigate, and I would recuse. If Bryan were to be found guilty and the death penalty was given, then he would have a very good appellate argument to get it overturned if Taylor was his lawyer. Northington, who has long battled addiction, said she only found out that Taylor was representing her daughter's accused killer when a friend saw it on social media and told her. Some speculate that Taylor's appointment to represent Kohberger was one of necessity because in a small county there was not an abundance of qualified public defenders. Is that true? Is that true that someone above her said, well, you stay on this case with Kohberger and recuse yourself from Xana because he needs representation and we can get anybody to represent Miss Kara because her cases are less than 4 quadruple homicides. Is that the case of why she took on Kohberger's case? It's because someone appointed her to the case because it was a death penalty case. But the point remains that if it went down that way, that someone over her said, hey, you need to take this case, she should have known from dealing with Kara, no, I cannot, because her daughter is one of the victims, and so is this person. They're also the parents of Maddie Mogan. So whether they have jurisdiction over which cases they can take or not, they can't deny them. She had to have known the parents were the parents were parents of the victims. If you see where I'm going with this, she had to have known. So who's going to take the responsibility of knowing? That's what I want to know. And why hasn't anyone contacted Kara? This is very unprofessional. You can make up all the excuses you want, how you did this legally, blah, 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 misprint of paperwork. You know, somebody spilled water at the copy machine. Why haven't you contacted Kara Northington to talk to her to say, this is what's happening. This is a decision that was made because of this. We now know that you are the mother of one of the victims. So we cannot have this person represent you. We decided it's best we use someone else because she's had dealings with you. So we will now give you over to Mr. and Mrs. such and such. I want to know why none of you have contacted Kara. Have you all tried contacting her and she has not answered? Because as I've told you with true crime and life in general, everything's about a version. So who is going to tell the truth in this situation? Yes, we tried calling Kara, but she won't answer. So Kara, I'm going to ask you, has someone contacted you from the office? You've told Banfield no. I'd like to know, has anyone tried contacting her? And naturally, there's a gag order, but the gag order is for anybody involved in the case. So does that also apply to the public defender's office? Are they also in the gag order as well? Because if so, then that means we won't be hearing from them, which I brought you content earlier that speculates they possibly won't be speaking either. So once again, some speculated that Taylor's appointment to represent Kohberger was one of necessity because in small county, there was not an abundance of qualified public defenders. Taylor is one of just 13 public defenders in Idaho approved by the state's Public Defense Commission to lead a capital punishment case. She's also the only one in all of North Dakota. And I brought you that commentary that it was about 14 out of 29 candidates on the roster. And she fit the bill for the 14, but the only one in the jurisdiction of Moscow, Idaho, to defend Kohberger. But now we know that can't be true because now Mr. Schwartz has moved in to take the place of Miss Taylor. So now you have to ask, what jurisdiction does Mr. Schwartz derive from? West, East Idaho, Southern Idaho, where? And how's that going to work? Somebody coming a long way to now defend a client. Because now you got to count travel time going up and down the highway, back and forth, back and forth. Hi, thank you. Okay, honey. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Thank you, sweetie pie. All right, I'm going to hurry up and finish this article so we can chop up the information. Sorry it's so winded. I just want to get all this information out to you guys. Oh man, this is just so questioned. I mean, this is such a bad situation. Just okay. I'm gonna finish this up. These articles are so long. As I said, she's one of 13 defenders in Idaho approved by the state's Public Defense Commission to lead a capital case. Prosecutors have yet to indicate whether they will seek the death penalty in Kohberger's case, with Xana'S mother adding that no one had contacted her from the office. Repeat, Xana'S mother adding that no one had contacted her from their office. It was unclear why a liaison officer from the victim and witness coordinator team had not gotten in touch. Barhoma explained that it is plausible that Taylor only became aware of the conflict after taking the case, but believes that it would have come out earlier. Exactly. That's what most of us are thinking. Earlier. He added, there's a substantial conflict of interest despite removing herself from the mother's case. She should get herself off Bryan's case too. But there seems to be an interest from her that she wants to represent him. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. It is obviously a high-profile case, and also her current client could be facing the death penalty, and there's apparently no replacement for her, so that is part of her duty to represent him. The likelihood of this becoming a death penalty case is high, which means the mom is going to take the stand. There's a chance that it won't happen, but in the instance that it does, I don't know what will happen. He could get a new trial. He could have his conviction overturned if he is found guilty, and everyone would have to go through the whole process again. I would just recuse myself if I were her. It is the smartest thing to do. DailyMail.com did not receive a response to requests for comment from Taylor or Public Defender's Office for this commentary. And basically, this is just at the bottom of this article, it's just going over everything that we've learned thus far pertaining to the case. Nice pictures of the children. 8 strands of hair recovered from the apartment, possible human hair. Dog hair. Fire stick. All the items are now being stored at the Washington State University Police Department. Authorities reportedly said they wanted to see if any hair had been transferred into Kohberger and then back to his apartment, including that of Kaylee Gonzalez's dog, Murphy. Murphy was found alive in Kaylee's room by investigators who were called to the scene and has now been returned to her ex-boyfriend. The application also stated that the home where the students were murdered had a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter, cast-off blood. Investigators believe that it was likely that the killer would have had blood evidence on their body or clothing and hoped to find trace evidence in Kohberger's apartment. However, they did not describe the results of any of the testing in the documents and did not confirm if any hairs found matched the victims or Kaylee's dog. His offices at Washington State were also searched, but nothing was seized by officers. Naturally, everything was supposed to stay sealed till the 1st, this warrant, but they have been revealed now. Kohberger, 28, is yet to enter a plea for the murders of Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. Okay, just recapping basic information. The documents also say that the criminal justice graduate stalked the property at least 12 times. They have not revealed exact dates. They believe he canvassed the 3-story property, but confirmed that in August, he was pulled over just 2 minutes after leaving the area covered by the cell phone tower closest to the home. So now you have to ask that question. Did this macabre stalking start in August and not June? Or is this just one of the times he got pulled over was in August 21st, 11:37 p.m. And see, in the beginning, we never knew that, the time. So imagine that, 11:37, he's coming out of Moscow after stalking these kids. So he's out there at night, peeping around, walking around. Very scary to know he was out there lurking. See, it's one thing to just ride by anywhere. Let's say you're interested in somebody. You're curious to where they live, where they work, or you think they're dating somebody else or messing around with somebody else, and you get information. You're just curious. Well, come on. You might get somebody to go along with you. Come on, let's just ride and see. Well, you ride on your own. But when it becomes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you're now on a whole nother playing field. It is called stalking. So how many times are you going to ride by? And let's just say you see what you're looking for is at this said location. When are you going to get out of the car? Now, naturally, on this 21st of August, it was recorded on the officer's body cam. Kohberger was driving his white Hyundai Elantra. I'd like to see that footage from the body cam that night of August 21st to see how he was acting and behaving. I'd like to also see what he was wearing. The papers also include details on how Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath close to the bodies of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez. Authorities are still hunting for the murder weapon. MSN.com is the source of this information. I did not get verification in these articles pertaining to Maddie's parents, what exactly Taylor, the charges that she represented them. But I'm to the point where I'm like, I dare not ask. I think I'm scared to even hear exactly what the charges are. Thank you all for joining me. Hope everyone has a safe weekend. Tomorrow the Queen will turn 52. God is good. He has favored me on this journey, this thing called life. And I must say, the more I talk about death, it's always in the back of my mind. Mercy, how will I go? That's why I don't really like talking about death, because I don't think it's a natural thing that we should be focusing on while we're living. And as I said, we take a lot of things for granted while being on top of this dirt. Things that we come to enjoy, not enjoy, company we keep, places we go. And sometimes those things can lead to our demise, sadly. Now, these children were in their home. So one would say, well, how did they deserve death? In their own home, sleeping. Well, they didn't. But they had a dirty bird watching and lying in wait. And he took advantage of the situation, infiltrated the home. And the sick part is he didn't even break in. And that's up for question. How did he get in that house? See, you don't know the hour, because they died a brutal death. But my question tonight is, did Bryan Kohberger know that Xana'S sister attended the same university as himself? Did he ever try following her around if indeed he knew she was related to the girls or targets he was stalking? To date, we have not had a verification of who exactly Kohberger was stalking at 1122 King Road. You're entitled to your interpretation. I'm not here to say which one he was stalking. I will wait till they bring us more information of whose DM he went in. I think that would shed more light on who his infatuation was with. Infatuation turned hate. Because in the end, he had to have hated them to kill them. He didn't know these kids from Adam. And they didn't know him. I don't think they knew one another. And I think he became perturbed when he decided to reach out and he did not get a response. And as I've told you before, that if you have a person that's willing to lie in wait and sit around your house and gawk around 12 times, that's a lot of times for some people you don't even know. I won't doubt, as I said, he's gone through mailboxes. He's paid for True Finder, all those search entities where you pay to get personal information on a person. He possibly knew that one of these kids had a sister at the same university. As I said, they always took pictures. So let's just say that Xana was one of the targets. Then he would have known that her sister attended Washington State. How hard would it be to find out? See, I told you this. You don't know if he's ever been to any of their parents' houses. He likes to drive. He likes driving around in the dark. That's been proven. 11:37 at night, pulled over by the police coming from that location, their home, stalking their house, 3 o'clock in the morning, doesn't make entry to what? After 4 a.m.? Seen driving away from the scene at 4:20 a.m.? He's a night owl. Disturbing the peace in the wee hours, doing something with heavy artillery tools inside of his apartment. What was he doing? Drilling sounds, one neighbor says. See, those are the things you have to consider. Who is he? What has he been doing? What was he doing the month before being arrested? He just got to Pennsylvania. I don't think he was there but a couple of days before being arrested. So he was free to roam around. What was he doing? It's obvious he's a night owl. Where was he going? What was he doing? What was he looking for? See, somebody like this is very dangerous. Even without a target, he's still dangerous because his mind is gone. So anybody could have been a victim. It's only assuming, well, he liked pretty girls, young girls. So he picked 20, 21-year-olds to brutally murder. Not a 28-year-old woman, 32-year-old woman, but some kids. And really, in the end, it doesn't matter who he chose. A victim's a victim. It's heinous nonetheless. But just saying, he chose these kids for a reason. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. If you want to give your opinion pertaining to Xana'S' sister being at the same university as Bryan Kohberger, evidence seized, all the new information that is just baffling to this case, Ms. Taylor representing parents of the victims, why she would take the case, because in the end, it doesn't matter if she's assigned the case or not. She had knowledge that these parents are related to the victims. That's how I look at it. And somebody has to stand account for the knowledge. Because as you hear in the commentary I played earlier, Coronado is a very odd name. It's not even a name you would forget. It's too odd. And obviously that was her name on her documents, charging documents. Yes, I won't doubt that he stalked other people. So did he stalk Xana'S' sister? And I hate even mentioning her as well because we don't want unwanted attention to her as to have some other creep decide to pick up where Kohberger left off. See, this is why I keep trying to tell you all this stuff is dangerous. Even when you talk about this, even though it's public information, it is a true crime. But when you start talking about these other entities who have no bearing on the case, haven't done anything, you're also drawing attention to them, and we don't want to do anything to get them hurt. But you all put the information out here. Karen, you put this information. Nobody even had to know that the other sister attended that school. Now everybody knows. So she was content in attending the school before the killer was caught. Well, is she content now since mommy has put her name out there? Maybe that was not a good idea to say she attended the same school, because you maybe feel like, well, it's okay to say it now. He's been apprehended, but we got to pray that one, he doesn't have a co-conspirator. Two, it's a seduction for another fiend to stalk her or any other kids at Washington State or Idaho University, because we have copycats. We have very ill people out here. You don't know people. This is baffling. This case is just, man, this case is whack to me. It's just a whack case. And they're all the same. It seems like every damn case lately, the past 2-3 years of me talking about true crime, everyone is the same. I don't care the race. I don't care the demographics. I don't care where the people come from. I don't care if they live in a big city, small town. I don't care if they're Christian, non-Christian, Mormon. It is always the same. Everything is about their damn relatives. Everything negative you could come up with. He said, she said it. I think he did this and she did this. And it's like, man, this is bad. Well, we don't know that they watched. How much watching they did of Kohberger. I know the first initial spotting of the car was the 25th, then the 29th of November. But that has nothing to do with the knowledge that Kohberger had before that. That's where the problem comes in. See, Kohberger was already in the midst. He was already in the jungle before he killed the kids. That's how I look at it. He was already in the jungle. See, this is where this is a problem. He's a lion. He's in the jungle. And these little bitty animals are running around, not having any idea he's stalking and lying in wait, waiting for the kill. You think he has not done his homework? He's meticulous. The conversations you hear from people saying the way he talked, the way he carried himself, he wanted to always be right. Over talking people in official capacity, especially women. He wanted to make himself seem important, the way he spoke dialect and this and that. You know damn well he probably knew that girl was there. It's scary as hell. I'm utterly confused. I pray nothing else jumps out of the clown car between now and June. Because with all the shenanigans with Miss Taylor, she's to me, I just don't have any respect for her. I won't care what kind of excuse she ever gives, gag order lifted, not lifted, because there's just no way you're going to tell me you did not know these kids belong to these damn parents that you represented. Because due to the fact that they only have so many lawyers on the roster and so many on the roster to represent death penalty cases, you're just not going to sit here and make me believe you don't remember these people's their names and their names tied to these victims. Because they talk about the kids all day long. You know damn well they're talking about them in Idaho. If they don't talk about them anywhere else, they're talking about them there. Every day. You think the police department, they're not sitting around in different police departments talking about the kids, got their pictures posted up? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And they're talking about the parents' past because this is what people do. So I'm not going to listen to anything about they didn't know. Prove it. And then this is also state government. So we already know the state don't sue the state. So let's come up with some grand excuse how it came to be. Well, you see, we didn't let anybody know that. Well, yes, she knew that they were her clients. But of course, we couldn't let the public know. So we decided to let her take over the case because she's officially, the type that could fight the case because of her standing, which Angela don't know what the hell you're talking about. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. If you're in the viewing audience and have been talking in this chat, feel free to hit the link to give your opinion pertaining to Kohberger and this sister at Washington State University. This new information revealed by Kara, her dealings with Miss Taylor, 4 separate occasions, and now information pertaining to Maddie's parents, father and stepmother, having dealings with Miss Taylor. She was their representative. I do not know the crimes that they committed or were accused of. They are also closed cases. Let me make that clear during this live stream. Those cases were closed. Now, how long ago were they? What were the charges? What was the punishment? 2 kids who hang around each other have parents represented by Miss Taylor. Now, you put that on paper. How about that? Oh, dear God. I don't know. It's just a baffling case. Just baffling to me. Well, it's more than just a town. What's going on in the state? Yeah, social media is just wicked. The people are wicked. Because now you have a way to just talk to people all day, every day. Just sit up and post. Just sit up and just give your commentary, spread lies, make up stories, theories and this and that. God forbid somebody's gullible. They read that mess and then they go around and they spread it. Well, I think that maybe this could have happened and I think this. And it's like nobody's told you anything like that happened. So why would you think it? Especially when it's just like off the wall. And when it comes down to accusing people of murder, family members, that's just out of line. I don't do that. I have to have a receipt that somebody's had some ties to a house, some type of altercation. But I'm not about to accuse anybody's parent or brother and sister of murder. And I didn't indulge in that, and I won't indulge in it now. Because now it's out of control with this new information of Taylor representing these parents. So I'm wondering, when is somebody going to contact Miss Kara and speak to her? Because she has to have new representation because allegedly she has a case pending. So is somebody going to talk to her? She probably would feel very strange going into the public defender's office. Let's talk about that. A few of you have put in the chat the other day about her being on the run. As I said, I don't know anything about that. I don't pass any information I don't know anything about. That's alleged. I don't have any information. The point is, if she decides to go into the public defender's office for the said charge, how's she going to feel? She's not going to feel like she can trust the person. Also, this alleged allegation of Ms. Taylor being the power of attorney because she wanted to go into drug rehab. Why would you ask a random stranger to be your power of attorney? You don't even know this lady. That's, to me, very dangerous. You can't assume this because she's a lawyer that she would be the best person to officiate that type of arrangement. That's very odd to me. Never heard of such. Very odd to me. That's basically my commentary. Any verification for the information? News Nation is the source for both audios pertaining to Miss Kara. Banfield gives her personal opinion. I guess some people didn't care for the interview that she did with Kara. A lot of people don't really take well to people who are drug addicts. And it's not to say that just because a person uses drugs that they are bad people, but many drug addicts do bad things. Many people do bad things in general. I do not know what other crimes she has committed, but we do know that people commit sins to get the drugs. And I think just from her previous interviews with Banfield, people may have felt that Kara didn't know very much about her child and maybe wasn't in tune to her child and in tune to really inquiring information pertaining to this case. And I say that would be sad. And some people say, well, it's a hard thing to handle, your daughter dying, son, whatever. But the point is, knowledge is key. And I would think whether you were in a child's life or not, this would be the perfect time to be in tune to any dealings with the state pertaining to your child, because your child is now gone. You can't get them back. There's no coming back. So why not learn all you can about what they have and what they have found? I would want to know everything. If I have to cry every day, hair falls out, whatever, eyes bagged, then that's how it'll be until I get in a better space. But you can't run from death. You can try to block it out all day, watch Netflix, drink yourself to death, get high till you're blue in the face. It still doesn't change the fact that your child was brutally murdered. And as I've said to you before, we know that drugs and alcohol is a form of a coping mechanism. So I could see this putting her in a tailspin to continue to use drugs. And naturally it won't help, because even the drugs won't change the outcome and the circumstances from which this child got herself to be deceased, murdered. I hope that she stays in tune with law officials, the state's attorney's office, Ms. Kara, and also the public defender's office, because nonetheless, what you don't need is to be running, hiding warrants out for you. You pay the piper and be done with it. Move on and make a promise to yourself to do better. And I know that God lets everything happen for a reason. As vicious as these crimes are, this is also a lesson learned to those who are living, tainted or not. You have to be grateful and humble for the days that have been given to you. And this is now a time for this young lady and others to stand account for the ways and realize that life is short, that there are no guarantees. And when you're out here using drugs, you can put yourself in a very dire situation that you could possibly end up like your child because you don't know people. As you see, this guy didn't know these kids. So far, we don't have any proof that he knew them. So he just chose some kids, killed them. So imagine if you're out here doing nefarious things pertaining to getting the drugs, getting high, being an eyewitness to a crime or a co-conspirator yourself, you could also end up deceased or incarcerated yourself. Because as I said, people do heinous things to get drugs. And you rarely find a person who's used drugs that hasn't done something illegal to get it, such as theft, robbery, forgery. Because you have to have money to get high. Very sick. This is a wicked story. And I prayed it would not turn worse, especially with all the accusations of different people, Jacks and Jeremys and wild stories. And I was just like, Lord, just please find the killer. And then now here comes this mess with the lawyer and the parents. It's like, oh, well, here we go. Here comes the circus. 8 ring. It's just bad. Well, that's my sad commentary. And you can't see what's coming if you're not paying attention. Because who's to say that there weren't visible things he was doing, standing around the house, nobody just paid attention, walking by the house a few times. Could have been just walking up and down the street pretending he was lost, anything. Parked his car up on that hill behind the house, parked around the corner, pretending he was walking. Anybody can just walk by a street, pretend like they're just, strolling. Can't tell people where to go. I won't doubt that he did that. Could have walked up to the door, knocked on the door to say he's looking for Bob, Joe. These kids don't look out the peephole, possibly. Hell, did the door even have a peephole? See, you have to ask all those questions. Doors locked, unlocked. Peephole in the front door. Alarm on the house. Anybody had the keypad code? There's so many questions to this story that we don't have the answers to because most of the answers are with the decedents. We'd have to get the information from secondhand, and then you have to decide if you believe it or not. People that were close to the victims. And that will be a test as well. When these people are called to testify, what will you believe about how the kids lived in the house, things that went on in the house? And also that is also something to expect due to all this he said, she said, and gossip. Were the children doing anything nefarious in the house? But it doesn't mean it has anything necessarily to do with Kohberger. Because once again, you'd have to have a receipt to tie him into anything nefarious that the children were doing that could have led to a jump off of him killing the kids. I think just with him studying psychology, the issues he's had with himself, insecurities, he just wanted to see what it was like to kill. I believe he was detached from reality, detached from man, no empathy, being teased a lot. He probably became a very angry person, bitter person. So anybody could have been a target, quite frankly. Anyone could have been a target. Hello, Hippie. How are you? Awfully quiet down there in that chat. Well, thank you all for following the content. Please check out my videos. The latest one yesterday, Big Steppers of Knoxville, CEO, Miss Murphy. Her son was a videographer. She also has another son that raps as well. I've shared both of their content to my community page if you'd like to see the talent that these two young men have. Thank you so very much. Slow run tonight. Awfully quiet down there. See what happens when you go live, bring the content. Everybody's quiet. You're welcome. Very welcome. Prayers from Memphis, Tennessee. A young man, African-American man, was murdered by police officers. Some suspect that there are more involved. I do not know. I have yet to decide if I want to talk about that because I was so overwhelmed. We're talking about George Floyd a couple years ago. I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole with that. I will say for anybody that wants to protest, riot, protest, I'm going to speak on that. Please do peacefully, but know that anything could jump off at a given moment. And as Cuomo has said on News Nation, there'll be people there for the wrong reasons to incite more trouble and not there for equality. So just know the odds and what's against you in protesting. If you decide to riot, that'll be your foolishness to destroy property, because in the end, that's not going to bring the dead back, and it's not solving anything to destroy people's property, those people who have worked hard to build businesses. And you don't want to destroy the community because, one, you have to live in a community as well. And then three, these are Black officers who killed a Black man. Hello, Marge. Hit the link, Margaret. I haven't heard from you in a long time. If you're in the chat and you are speaking in the chat, feel free to keep the continuity of the live stream going. $91 viewing, thank you. Just a bad situation. I'm a little sluggish today. I've rested most of the day. Long day yesterday. So, but as I said, once again, thank you for the content. Following the content and commenting. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Tomorrow the Queen will be 52. It's 11:24 now, Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for the birthday wishes, donations, super chat, stickers, and listening to the videos. Thank you so much. Happy weekend to everybody. My movie suggestions are on my community board if you need verification. If I see anything else tonight, I'll post it for something for you all to watch. Right now, I'm currently watching a very interesting series. It's the first season on Netflix called Anatomy of a Scandal. It's about a Caucasian male who's a politician, and he's been accused of an affair/rape of a colleague, a subordinate. And that's all I'll tell you if you want to tune into that. So far, I'm on episode 6. I don't know the total of episodes. Let me go in here and check and see, in case you're interested in watching this tonight and Sunday. It's a very interesting storyline. Has an interesting little plot twist to it. I love anything British anyway, so it doesn't matter what. If it's any type of mystery and it's filmed in the UK, I'm aboard. Or TV series. Comes right up in the YouTube search. The Google search. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 58%. IMDb gives it 7 out of 10. Parliamentary Minister James Whitehouse is a happily married man with a loving family. Then a scandalous secret comes to light. Very good, very good. Sienna Miller is starring in this. Rupert Friend and Michelle Dockery from Downton Abbey. Naomi Scott is also playing. Hannah Dodd, Ben Radcliffe, Amelie B. Smith. Those are some of the actors inside of this. This is also based on a book. I have to find the person that wrote this. But know that this is also dealing with sexual assault. So if it's a topic that you don't care to indulge in, this content won't be for you. Anatomy of a Scandal, now playing on Netflix. It aired first day, April 15, 2022. Based on, I believe it's a book, Sarah Vaughan, the author. Yeah, it's based on a book. It was a book first. I'm trying to find the episodes. It has not been renewed for a second season. It was pitched as an anthology series, meaning that each season would focus on a different crime. And you see that a lot with a lot of the TV series now. They don't naturally carry the same crime season for season, because I think that would get boring. Each season you have the same crime. No different than if you watched a TV show, CSI or something. You're not going to have the same crime every episode. But so far, it's just season 1 of Anatomy of a Scandal. I'm trying to find the episodes. Six episodes. So Queen is on the last episode, 6. I'm on episode 6 right now. My TV's on that. So thank you all. Thank you so much, dear. Marge, you want to hit the link, dear? Give me your opinion pertaining to Xana'S sister and all this new information about Ms. Taylor representing family members of the victims. That's the content of this live stream. 1 hour and 32 minutes into this live. Thank you for joining me. It's kind of a slow live tonight. Thank you. Thank you all. If you want a good little mystery, this is a good mystery, Anatomy of a Scandal. It's not gory or anything. Well, I'm not going to hold you guys, but that's the sad information. I'm just curious. If Kohberger knew of Xana'S sister Jane being a student, because I would assume he did his homework and following the girls thoroughly, possibly on campus, work, other people's homes, checking mail, Google searches, Truth Finder searches, relatives' addresses, phone numbers. I won't be surprised if he went by some of their homes. He liked to drive. He's a night owl. He didn't have any problems going over to that property after 11 p.m., stalking, watching, probably 10-something, because I believe he sat out there for an hour. So I think he got there like after 10. That's in one affidavit. In the affidavit, that's one of the times he went. So the other times he went to the house was during the day. So you're supposed to be a student, a professor's assistant. So how are you having time to do all this stalking during the day when that would be the time that I would assume a person would want to get their schooling out of the way, is during the day or early afternoon? Why do you have time to be sitting outside someone's house 12 times? It's very depressing. Why are you stalking these kids? What was it about these kids? And just disturbing, man. I mean, I just tell myself, how much more crazy can this case get? Lawyer wanting the case, seems like. Naturally, she'll deny that down the road when she's able to speak. You knew the mother of the victim. She had several charges, so you've talked to her. There's no way I'm going to sit here and believe you never spoke with her. And yet, you drop it on the 5th. You drop her on the 5th, same day he goes to court. How are you going to explain that logically? But then now we have Maddie's father and stepmom also have committed some type of crimes a long time ago, and you represented them. Closed cases, of course, but still, this is bad. These parents being tainted, getting into trouble. You know, like I said, everybody, has a past, but it just looks bad when you're trying to get the case off the, get it started. And then all these crazy things come out about the kids' parents. Usually you're hearing crazy stuff about young people getting in trouble. Instead, you're hearing stuff about their parents. This is backwards. And everybody knows this is backwards. They're the ones that's supposed to be getting into trouble. Wayward. But then the flip side of that is, well, they're going to get education. They shouldn't be getting any damn trouble. That's not to say the kids were perfect. I'm sure there were a few that had bad attitudes, weren't too kind to some people. But in no way one can say they deserve to be butchered. But we do know people have done heinous things to people that led to them being murdered. Because everyone handles things differently. And there are people out here who will exact revenge on you. So this is why I tell you, you have to be careful how you treat people, how you talk to people. You out here maliciously doing evil things to people. And we know that you're not supposed to exact revenge. That's the Lord's job if you believe in God. But once again, people are flawed. They get angry. They lash out. They do things. You know, there's also the risk of repercussions. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, be another day. But murder is totally different. Because I'm telling you, as I said before in my live streams, right before Kohberger was arrested, I thought maybe a neighbor did this. Once they released the footage of the kids getting noise complaints, the police going to the house, first thing I thought was, man, don't tell me a neighbor did this to these kids. This is crazy. And now this extra stuff is just like, you can't even make this stuff up. 4 dead kids. Parents have been in trouble with the law and represented by the damn killer's new attorney. Now he has another attorney. So what will happen come 1st of summer? Into June? Will the defense be ready to go forward? Will he enter a plea? Or will he decide now it's too much trouble? I want a speedy trial. But the judge already asked him that when he went to court last time. Do you understand what's going on, sir? He said yes. He waived his right. Wow. Sad. Thank you all for listening. Prayers to the family members. Prayers for Miss Kara, that she gets her life together and on track. She gets in a rehab program and she gets herself off of drugs, alcohol. She finds some peace. I pray that she stays in tune with the defense. I mean, not the defense, but the prosecutor and police department and detectives on the case. She stays active in this investigation because this is her child and her child's friends. And I think they all need to be talking to one another and being a comfort for one another because all their children died viciously together in the same house. So whether they become best friends or not, or don't feel like they have a common bond with one another, I think they all need to talk to each other, deal with each other on just the level of checking on one another. They don't have to be best friends, but you could at least talk to each other, check on each other. Hey, how are you doing? You need anything? You okay? Because right now I believe Kara is a light gone out. And yes, she's probably made a lot of bad choices in her life, but right now she needs support, but she's also going to have to do her part and reach out, because you can't expect people to just gravitate towards you, whether you are in distress, your child was murdered or not. Everybody's not the same. And that's just an assumption. Well, her kid was murdered. People would be reaching out. But yes, first of all, she has to be accessible to be reached out to. So I don't know if she has a place to live. She has a home. If she's in a trailer, she's sleeping in her car, if she's sleeping in a shelter. I don't know where this lady lives. I don't even know if she has a job. Does she own a car? So you have to ask all those questions. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have to ask all those questions. Those are questions nobody's asked, because, most people feel, well, it's nobody's business. But when you start talking about drugs, alcohol, getting in trouble, one is going to ask those questions now. Since all that's been put out, you might as well ask it now. Does she have a viable life as far as a home, a job, car? Because one thing begets another. Is she keeping in contact with the defense office? Was she keeping in contact with the defense office after she got the charges in November? So you have to ask all those questions, because that was mentioned also in this commentary. Please go back to the beginning of this video. It will state, someone will speak on that. Did they actually deal with her, met with her in the public defender's office? But 4 charges and they rendered a public defender. There's no way I'm going to sit here and think nobody's ever met with her. You'd have to be definitely on the run a lot, or whatever you consider on the run. And when you live in small jurisdictions, eventually your name's going to get out there on the news. They'll probably have little newspapers and leaflets of people who recently got arrested, such as like the busted paper. And it puts all the people who've been recently arrested in the paper. Social media now announces arrest of people, even for the most mundane crimes. It could be just theft, forgery. Now, towns, they mention that now in the news. So with social media, even, like I said, the most minute of a crime is mentioned. It's mentioned. I'm going to check out of here, you guys. Please have a safe weekend. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of posting things to social media. Know that there are a lot of wacky people out here, a lot of sick people who don't mean well. And a lot of people take for granted. So it's... you have to be careful of your surroundings, because you just don't know people. And it's just a very sad situation. And this case just keeps getting more turns, one after the other. And as I said, the cases pertaining to Maddie's parents were not mentioned in the information that I brought. I'm sure somebody will get the digs on what they did and didn't do. I'm not going to go dig up anything, because it's not about Kara. This case is not about Maddie's dad and stepmom. The case is about 4 kids who were brutally murdered, and it needs to stay on that. And I'm not trying to get distracted from the children's deaths, because in the end, they're not coming back. These parents, they're alive and well. So whatever things they've done in their past, that's on them. I don't feel like it has any bearing on the deaths of their children. And that's where the focus needs to lie, is on the kids and getting justice for them. If indeed Kohberger is the primary suspect. And as I brought you information in this live stream, information asked from the defense, from the prosecutor, does not necessarily mean that Kohberger had a co-conspirator, but there are questions that they ask in the documents pertaining to statements, witness statements. I also watched a guy's video earlier. He's a lawyer, and he was talking about somebody being an informant. And my head started spinning even before I started listening to him speak. And I thought, oh, here we go. Now, who would be an informant exactly? Just say it. Who would be an informant? Who would be an informant for Kohberger? That means he would have to have been doing something nefarious besides murder, such as using and or selling narcotics or any other crimes. Well, we will see if indeed he has been doing other misdeeds and there is an informant / witness that can give testimony to any foul behavior exacted against this creature. But we've learned this with murders, that the suspect has probably done other things. We've learned this with other crimes of sodomy, rape, forgery, theft, just a various assortment of dirty deeds. And many of us have speculated what else has Kohberger been doing the month he was free while being on Washington soil, and also what he was doing back in Pennsylvania when he was attending four-year institution and his master's. You have to ask, why not? Please check out my community board for the set uploads, videos, verifications of all information is in this live stream. Thank you for following the content. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App, Super Chat, stickers are welcome during the live stream. Please check out Big Steppers of Knoxville, coming to a TV soon. Filming will start in April. The Queen hopes to make a few guest appearances on the show. Thank you, Gigi, for thinking of the Queen to be a part of this journey and dream. And I want to thank her for supporting my channel. You will get commentary from one of her sons, who was the videographer for that audition yesterday. Very talented young man, very good at editing, I must say. I was very impressed. Please go to my community board to see both of her sons' rap talents and videography talents. Yes, 52 tomorrow. Here in a few minutes, I'll be 52 years of age. 16 minutes, matter of fact. Thank you for joining me. You have been listening to The Vault Exhale.